Hi everyone, welcome back to another Define on TikTok Live. Today we are going over how to fill out our monthly reflection. So we are going to flip on over to our monthly reflection to dive into a deeper understanding of how this month went. Good morning. We all ready to do a little reflecting on September. It's going to be time to dive in. Hey, Lilu, I'm so glad you guys can make it. I'll give us all just a little bit. I'll start this off in just a moment. I just want to make sure everyone has the time to get ready, grab their reflections. I did want to flip back to, and we'll stay here for a moment. I'm just going to highlight this monthly reflection. I don't know why. I just like to add a little color wherever I can. So I'm just going to go like this. Nothing too crazy. And then I'm just going to write September. Wake me up. Okay. Perfect, you guys. Okay, let's dive in. So first, let me just welcome you all to our monthly reflection workshop. So this month in particular, we were really focusing on relationships. More specifically, I'm just going to flip back to the monthly calendar so you guys can see. We were focusing on how we can show up more fully and being more present with those around us. And so we set our umbrella goal that was, let me flip back to it so you guys know exactly how I set up my monthly reflection. I like to start by just reviewing what that umbrella goal was in our umbrella goal planning page. So we had written show up fully with presence, honesty, and a desire to bring out the best in others. So then I carried that over to our monthly calendars, and that was guiding our September month. I want you all to know to share your own goals with me in the comments. If anything comes up throughout this monthly reflection, just let me know. And what we really focused on this month was to have 3 distraction-free conversations or just time with others in general per week. So today what we're going to do is take a moment to pause and look back at September. Not just to see what went well, but also so we can recognize how we felt, what we learned, and where we grew. So the purpose of reflection is to turn all of our experiences from this month into insight. And so that way we can take that insight and turn it into aligned action. And so right now I'm going to encourage you guys to take a deep breath in and let it go. And now we are going to dive into question number 1. So the first question in your monthly reflection is, in general, how did you feel? So you always want to start by checking in with your emotions from this month. You can identify one main word. You can identify the overall tone of your month. Did you feel grounded, scattered, peaceful? Maybe you felt a little challenged. It's important to notice your emotional patterns, what lifted you up, but also maybe what drained you. And so for this month in particular, I want you all to write a little bit in the comments about how you were feeling, whether it's one word or a sentence. What were your overall feelings for September? I'm going to write that this month, I felt more centered, and fulfilled. Than usual. So I also like to connect it back to our goals for the month. So seeing how did our goals that we set, what we focused on, help to change our overall feelings. Focusing on relationships made me slow down. Which gave me a sense of calm. That I honestly didn't realize I was missing. What were you all feeling in September? I want you guys to give me one word. For us, I guess it would be two: centered and fulfilled. I felt more connected with those around me. And I was able to give, Lilu felt challenged. Lena, less negative. Those are two amazing answers. And I'm trying to think about the word. I felt, Kelly felt present. Wait, that's amazing. I love to hear these. That was actually, it's funny because that was the word I was just about to write, that I felt more present. But I want to also ask myself, when did I feel more present? And because I felt more connected with those around me. Now, when did I also feel more present? Well, I felt more present in the conversations that I showed up for, meaning when I had those, how do I explain this? Meaning because I was focusing on having weekly conversations that were distraction free, or activities as well. So just being able to put your phone away, being able to stay present in the moment and have less distractions, that was also when I felt more present in, so I guess it was in the conversations I was having. And then there were definitely still those moments of frustration. So I do want to recognize that, because or I guess the moment itself I didn't necessarily recognize was frustration, but there were still moments of, how do I want to phrase this? There were still moments of frustrations when life got busy and I was trying to balance different schedules, or I was trying to balance my schedule. I reminded myself to focus on the task at hand. And that helped me reconnect with my center rather than trying to focus on all that was going on outside of it. Okay. The next question is, what were your favorite moments and why? Think back to the highlights of the month if you were able to track them in your accountability trackers. These are going to be a great opportunity for you to transfer those over as well. And so we're going to start with, the way I like to do it is I actually do little lists. You can do it in a paragraph format. I find it easier to do just a numbered column. So I'm going to start with one, which was that food truck festival. But then I want you to ask yourself, why was that a favorite moment? For me, it was because it brought me together with those I care about, we weren't on our phones. It was a new experience and lots of laughter. Now, you might be like, well, why does it matter why it was your favorite moment? The answer is that you want to be able to keep reminding yourself of what it is that brings you joy. That way you can try to incorporate these in different ways. So maybe that food truck festival, that isn't something that happens all that often, but how can you incorporate that why behind it into your life? Well, keep spending time trying new things with those that you love. Because that is ultimately that's what it ultimately was about. It could have been anywhere and it still would have been a favorite moment because it was a new experience that was distraction free and brought together everyone I care about. So it's those types of experiences that bring you joy throughout the month that you can keep coming back to. And that's why it's important to answer the why portion of this question. That is going to be a really important part of this. So then the second thing I want to also write out was I went out to dinner with one of my best friends and we just spent like about 2 hours talking. Like, oh, Kelly, hey, I am writing in the planner that I currently have pinned. This is our Define planner and it includes monthly reflections at the end of every month. So we take this time at the end of every month to fill this out together, to take the time to review our monthly calendars, our weeklies, and really connecting it all with that goal planning aspect. So I am going to write out number 2. I like to do bullets again. Dinner with my friend. It was a distraction-free convo. And it was a reminder Yes, I did. We do those every Monday. Kelly asked, did I draw all those pictures? I did. That is something we do every Monday at 11 a.m. Eastern together on TikTok Live. It was a reminder of the importance of connection. All of your favorite moments are spending time with people I love. That's what Lilu said. That is beautiful. And that is such a great realization too, is that it is with those people that you love that bring out the best in you and that make life so much more joyful. And it's also okay. I know this monthly reflection in particular, we are focusing a lot on that relationship pathway to be able to show that connection between our goals and the monthly reflection. I do like to have that structure for these, but I also want you to remember that it is okay if some of your favorite moments aren't with other people. Maybe there was one day where you got to read and really take some time for yourself that day. That could have been a favorite moment. And maybe that's a sign that you need to be spending some more alone time in your life where you can just disconnect and reconnect with yourself. So just a reminder that even though today's is all about relationships with others, it's important to also recognize that relationship with yourself. It all depends on your goals. And so when it comes to that question of what did you learn this month, you can start by asking, okay, what was my monthly topic to learn? We had how to manage/reduce screen time, and also if we had the opportunity to focus on some different photography or videography tips. So I want to start with that how to manage/reduce screen time because I did notice that my screen time was going down because I would have those moments of disconnection. I do want you to think about when it comes to how am I answering, what did I learn? After you review those specifics in terms of my topics that I set up to learn, I want you to ask yourself, what did this month teach me? Because reflection is so much more powerful when we afford ourselves that opportunity to ask ourselves these questions. Because maybe you learned something about how you communicate, what you need in relationships, or how presence changes the energy of your connections. So I want to write down my areas that I felt I was learning and growing in this month. You can do it in lists. You can do it in paragraphs. There is, again, no right or wrong. So what did I learn? I want to tap a little deeper into that screen time, but it kind of came naturally. So So I actually want to write that I naturally learned how to reduce my screen time. Because I really focused on being present. So I learned that presence is powerful. I spelled that wrong. We're just going to cross it out. No big deal. I learned that presence is powerful. Because I do want to ask myself more specifically, diving deeper into your what did you learn? I would not count. That's another great question. Does reading a book on like a ebook count as screen time? I don't count it. That is another good thing that you can take into consideration is screen time can have different meanings for us. For me, when I was writing screen time, it wasn't about the reading a book because I actually think that's the another way to get distracted because it is separate from your phone. So if it's not on your phone, I do think it counts or doesn't count. You know what I mean? I naturally learned how to reduce my screen time because I learned that presence is powerful. And so as I was more intentional with my attention, my screen time naturally went down. And another aspect of this that I want to learn that I learned this month was that in regards to myself, I actually felt calmer and more in tune with the other energies. So I felt calmer in the moment. I felt calmer in the moment and more in tune with the other energy in the room. Or I was with. Because then what happened was I did learn that meaningful connection, it just doesn't happen by accident. It happens when I am really putting in the effort. And that was a huge learning curve, I think, for a lot of us. I feel like we all experience that at one place or another. And so we really need to be willing to take our time and move through it. That's incredible. Lilu said, I learned I am more capable of dealing with challenges because of my people. They were supportive. That is so important to recognize. And I'm so excited that you could have that experience because it's so true. You know that saying, you are a sum of your closest 5 people? That is such a powerful recognition there because you are more capable than you've ever realized. And yes, it's because you can lean on those people, but it is also because you are because you have chosen your people with that intention in mind, if that makes sense. So I'm glad to hear that. This month taught me that meaningful connection doesn't happen by accident. It happens amazing. Now, again, if anything comes up, you guys, if you do have any questions on how I'm answering this or if you need any help, just let me know. That is what I'm here for. I am walking us through based off of what we've been doing on lives, focusing on the relationships pathway, because it's nice to have that full circle moment at the end of every month. The next question is going to be, what were the most challenging aspects of your month? How did you deal with them? Because every theme, every time of our life, it does bring different challenges. Actually, as Lilu has been mentioning, that this was a challenging month for her. But now that you get to come to the other side of things, hopefully you're moving through those challenges, you get to really take the time to recognize, okay, what were these specific challenges and how did I handle them? And that right there is actually where the growth happens. It's recognizing that maybe it was hard to balance time, to stay off your phone, or to be fully present when you were tired. So, what obstacles came up and how did you respond? That also helps us. So, if we ever face a challenge like this again in the future, we have the proof that we have overcome such challenges before, and it gives us a little insight into how we want to handle it next time. So, I'm again guiding my answers based off of really that goal aspect this month. So one of the hardest parts was definitely realizing how distracted I can be even when I'm trying to be present. And I actually noticed this happened relatively recently when I was watching TV. All of a sudden, I stopped and I went, I have no idea what just happened. I was in my own thoughts. And I'm like, that is an example of not being fully present in the moment. And I was watching the show with someone else. Like, it's something we really like to watch together. And all of a sudden, I was like, I honestly don't even know what happened. My mind just went totally haywire. So recognizing that you have to be intentional with those thoughts in order to pay attention to the moment. Good morning, Rachel. I find with me, it's usually the thoughts that cause that distraction, even more so than necessarily the phone. I found that was a big moment of realization that even if you're in the moment, you're not on your phone, your thoughts are still going to help you be more present and showing up in the conversation. So I'm going to write, I caught myself being distracted with my thoughts while either in conversation or just doing an activity. So what I did was I took a moment and I honestly said to myself, this is okay to think about, but now's not the time. Let's come back to that thought later. And I was able to kind of sweep it to the side, and it is something that takes a lot of practice to be able to do, but I was able to push my thoughts to the side because I recognized that they were getting in the way in the moment. This is not serving me at the moment. Focus on where you are, who you're with, and what you're doing. And as you start to try different techniques, learning what works, that's when you are going to be able to lean on these more naturally. Lilu gave herself time to grieve, listen to advice, and choose to grieve. Yes. Choose time to grieve. That is not easy. I'm really proud of you for recognizing that, because grief is never an easy thing to experience. Oh, you chose to grind. Wait. Oh. Oh, interesting. Wait a second. Did you say that you were giving yourself time to grieve, or really diving into the grind of it all? Because I'm interested in hearing more about that aspect too, because that's not something I thought of. Because, oh, okay. I see. Yes, that makes so much sense. You said yes, then grind after grieving. That's incredible. So you were able to take that time. It sounds like, if I'm understanding correctly, you were able to take that time to really grieve, show up for yourself, give yourself some grace, and then you can go back to the grind of it all. Because what happens that a lot of times is that if you don't take that time, it will show up later. So it's really amazing to hear that you were able to do this all in a healthy way because of that support system behind you, really showing up for you. And that's beautiful. Oh my gosh, that is no worries. It's hard to type. Honestly, I hear that. That's incredible. And that is not an easy thing to go through. So just know I'm sending so much love your way, and I'm really proud of you for coming out on the other side of it all. But being able to learn about yourself throughout it as well. That's amazing. The next question, after we've really dived into a little bit of that self-awareness, good morning, Lee. Those first 4 questions, they're a great starting point, because that's going to allow us that opportunity to recognize and almost warm up a little bit, is how I kind of like to think about it. Is it warms us up to, how did I feel? It gives us that guiding journaling prompts. And then you are able to take it one step further and really dive into the goal portion of it all. I did gear our first 4 questions in this answer to connect with that goal aspect, to give us a different type of strategy when filling out your monthly reflection. And now we get to see it come together and diving into more specifics about what it was we were focusing on. But let's just dive in and we'll see how it comes together. Question number 5 is, reflect on this month's pathway focus. Why did you choose these pathways? Because you can choose more than one. Let's say you chose personal development and relationships. In this instance, I'm going to walk you through how I would answer this based off of our example of relationships. So I'm going to actually just write relationships. And I chose this in order to answer this question fully. I do want to look back at last month's reflection, because that will give us some insight into what we were thinking at the time. I wrote, okay, interesting. So I wrote, I'm going to keep working on our fitness and mindfulness routine. But in addition, I also want to try a new pathway. I want to focus and deepen my relationships and being fully present. Because this actually combines our health and wellness pathway with relationships. Let me flip back for a moment. Oh, flip too far. Yes. Okay, you guys. Because we are trying throughout this year to really emphasize staying grounded, staying energized, but also a sustainable lifestyle around wellness. And so part of wellness has to do with mindfulness and being attentive. And so I wanted to dive into the relationships aspect, because I felt like it was the next guiding segue into things. We went from routine to now relationships, and then we can talk a little bit more about what we want to work on next. So taking a look back, why did I choose relationships? Well, I wanted to one, try a new pathway for the year. But I didn't want it to be anything too out of what we've been working on because I wanted to be able to continue with our mindfulness and our fitness routines. So that's still aligned with our progress of health and wellness / fitness, because I find that I'm someone who, in order to keep moving forward, it's important that I'm doing it in a way that's sustainable. So adding into my routine, but also sticking with the other routine that we established. I don't know if that's clear, but that was how my thoughts are on this. So I wanted to focus on being more present and less distracted. Amazing. The next question is, reflect on your monthly and weekly action items. Did you incorporate them into your daily schedule? Now, I want you for this question to think about your action items. In our case, it was for the monthly action item, it was, I'm just going to reiterate, to have at least 3 meaningful distraction-free convos or activities each week. So I want to actually, when I answer this question, I like to break it down. It's easier to think it through. So I'm going to start with answering the monthly action item. And I'm just going to write it down. I think it's a great way to kind of sum it all up and bring it together. Show up fully with have at least 3. And then my weekly. This one I really was trying something different that I thought was, that at the end looking back was really a valuable way for me to do this. My weekly action items were technically different every week because I actually scheduled them out ahead of time. So when I'm doing this, I wanted to say my weekly equals, I chose 3 specific times / activities to spend with others. Now, the key for this is, did you incorporate them into your daily schedule? The reason that's important is that you need to be able to identify whether you were successful with that goal completion. So were you intentionally adding them into your schedule, or did they happen naturally? Ask yourself, how did I make space for my action items? For us, I was intentional with my action items. So I was able to incorporate them. And I found this to be very helpful. And it also helped me to establish different habits naturally that I recognized this past week. So I felt like we are making such great progress. And I'm really proud of the way that that intention has led to natural ability. So this intentionality has led me to develop different, I don't know if it's the word habits or, I guess habits is the right word, different habits naturally. Next month, you're going to write them in your planner. You didn't this month. That is A-okay. I think that's a great goal for yourself. That can be it. When you get down to the last question, that's something I would actually note as well. The next question, which is number 7, is reflect on your umbrella goal progress. How do you feel about reaching these goals? Now, I would recommend you start off with the specific pathway umbrella goal that you set up for this month. We're going to start there. So this is the core of your reflection because it's identifying how you are going to be able to have that long-term goal completion. I'm trying to take a moment and think about how I would walk you through this. So what I would like to do is, again, I would start off with what pathway we focused on this month. So starting off with 1, my relationship umbrella goal, which I'm just going to write it down again because I don't think you can ever write it down too many times. And I'm going to flip back to the umbrella goal planning page to just transfer it over, is show up fully with presence, honesty, and a desire to bring out the best in others. I feel very strongly on this one. I feel like this month I really learned a lot. I made great strides, and I feel more confident in my relationships as well. Then I also want you to have the opportunity to take a look back at your other pathways. So taking a look at ones that you've been working on or ones that you haven't been. Identify how you feel about different types of goals. So I think for myself, I'm actually feeling very confident in my ability to make sufficient progress on my goals. And I actually am really proud of that fact. So I'm going to take a moment and I want to recognize those proud moments. In all of my umbrella goals. Consistency is definitely the hardest part. Or I'm going to write the hardest challenge, but is one I'm now more aware of. So I'll keep that in mind moving forward. Moving forward. And then the last question to wrap up the reflection for this month is, what changes, if any, will you make toward reaching your goals next month? Because reflection, it's all about alignment. And so now that we see what worked and what didn't, what small shifts will we carry forward into the next month? I would say that next month, I want to maintain the time for others, like to spend my time with others. My time/connection with others. By balancing my schedule. I was thinking a little bit about what we want to focus on in the next month. And I know we've talked about it a little bit on here, but I don't think we've focused on it yet. One thing that you guys keep bringing up, it was yesterday during our plan with me, was the idea of consistency. So next month, we are focusing on consistency. And I am thinking that is going to be through the fitness pathway. Through fitness, but also continuing our daily routines or building those routines. So, but also through routine building. And that is one thing that we will be diving into more tomorrow as well, because I do have our October setup happening tomorrow. Wait, no way. That's perfect. Lilu said, yay, that is the pathway I'm focusing on this month. Okay. If there's anything in particular you are working on, anything you want me to help incorporate into your planner more, just let me know. You don't have to have the answer right away. You can always message me and I can really think about different strategies to help us out. I want you guys to celebrate the fact that you were able to come together, take the time to complete your monthly reflection, because every step matters. So this month we were focusing on presence, connection, and relationships, because just one meaningful conversation can actually have this ripple effect. And so thank you today for showing up for yourself with us today, reflecting, and also honoring your growth. This is how we are going to continue to navigate each day with purpose together and really embrace this journey as a community. Tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. Eastern, let me just triple check that time for you guys. I want to make sure that's correct. I put it in my planner. Yep. Tomorrow at 11 a.m. Eastern, I will actually be back on here to set up October's trackers with our monthly calendar. That is our next planning session. And then I also want to highlight that tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern, right here on TikTok Live, I host our 60-minute reading sprint. So grab your favorite book. I will be reading The Chemist's Daughter by Blake Dodge. This is our One More Chapter book club pick for October. So make sure you guys are signed up for that live event as well. And I will see you guys all later tonight for a little reading. And again, thank you guys for showing up with me today. And I'll talk to you all later tonight. Happy Tuesday, everyone. Bye.